Hey, hi all. It's Nadine, the Fortunate Living Nurse. This is my first time ever going live, but I was coming to you guys with some really good news. I work full time as a nurse, and then I have my 3 children that I homeschool. And when we started off with all 3 children homeschooling here in Texas, I was pulling the 3 children out of a private school. Everybody was in private school. And my youngest was just not catching on with reading. Here I was paying all of this money for private school, and he was not catching on. And I mean, we did everything. I don't feel like it was like the school's fault. They did all they could. I worked along with them. We did additional tutoring. And he just was not catching on with his reading. So I decided, as much as I loved working full time as a nurse and homeschooling, and having them at school all day, because I had been homeschooling for 10 years before. And when we moved here, it was like, oh my gosh, we found 3 schools that work for the 3 different children. We have one special needs child that's on the autism spectrum. Then we have this brilliant child that just usually the way they're teaching in the schools works for him. But then now I had this baby, my surprise blessing that I had at 40. And he was at a small, really supportive school, like I said, but not progressing with his reading. Struggled in kindergarten and then was still struggling in first grade. So, and I was paying good money for him to go to this school. His tuition was $12,000 a year. And so, that's $12,000 a year in addition to the textbooks, the uniforms. Nothing is covered because the school didn't get any funding from like the state or anything. But then in addition to that, they said, well, why don't we try tutoring? And I'm like, tutoring, like how much more individual attention does he need? There are only 12 children in the class. So I was so disheartened. And this is why I'm making this video, is just, I want you to hear how it all turned out. I often didn't have the confidence in myself, like, can I really teach him to read? And I don't know why I didn't have the confidence, because I had already taught my then middle schooler how to read, and he was like the top of his middle school class. He was doing very well at his private school. Then I had already taught my autistic daughter to read. But, I just think as homeschool moms, we still sometimes lack confidence in ourselves. We still lack confidence in can we really do it? And a part of it was me not wanting to homeschool. So they're doing all they can. I'm working along with him at home, running myself ragged from school to school and going to work. So then they were like, well, let's do tutoring. So that was another like $30 an hour on top of the tuition for him to go to tutoring with now this was first grade, because we did all of kindergarten. He wasn't catching on. First grade. So she's like, well, let's do tutoring. And like this woman, like she was like a dedicated teacher. She was one of the star teachers at the school. So I don't think it was her. And like I said, it wasn't for lack of her trying. It wasn't for lack of parental involvement either, because I am that mom that's involved. So I the tutoring didn't help. And I was like, this is ridiculous. What am I fighting? You've already successfully helped your other 2 children, one whom they said wouldn't even speak, much less read, and she's reading. And then my son, like I said. So I think a lot of my confidence came from that I am unapologetically urban, right? So language arts and reading and grammar was not, mastering it was not something that I was actually ever exposed to until I was a homeschooling mom. Growing up in Philadelphia, no, it was not stressed. Even though I went to a small Catholic school in my inner city, the nuns really stressed our social skills, our behavior, and then we had a really good mathematics program. But English and grammar, it was not really pushed for us to master that. And then the vernacular that I was hearing in my neighborhood was not training my ear to recognize proper grammar when speaking, and with writing, forget it. Like, I don't even remember being taught proper sentence structure. I didn't know that existed until homeschooling my children. And yes, I'm an RN. I went to college, a state college, a state university, because that's what I could afford. And once again, so I've been a nurse 26 years. So education has changed now. Everyone, like my son right now, is heading off to college in August. And when I look at his curriculum that's laid out for a math major, where well, it's a social science, but it's economics, I thought it was just going to be all mathematics. Well, he has so many writing courses. For my 4-year BSN, I had 2 writing courses. That's it. And you only needed a C. And then there was a heavy focus on mathematics and science, which the two go hand in hand. So my confidence in being able to teach my children reading and writing, it was all in my head that I couldn't do it. But so I'm at this crossroads. What do? I don't want to give up my job. But my kid, my boy is not learning to read. And I'm putting all these resources out, and not only the financial resources, it was so much time driving back and forth to that school and different things. So where we are today is Nate the Great is in, the 4th grade, finishing up 4th grade, and he now reads on a 7th grade level. So that's for reading comprehension. I'm gonna say it again. I just got his testing stuff back. That's why I'm like, I just got his testing information back, and I was so happy. And then today, I was off last night. So this morning, got up, got dressed to go to the supermarket. And this was the shirt I put on. Just a girl from Philly. Just a girl from Philly. Because I never want to forget where I'm from, right? We've been blessed. We live a really comfortable life on this cul-de-sac. The cul-de-sac was something I only saw on TV, right? I can't believe I'm emotional with this. But I'm just an urban girl from Philly, and I still was able to take my power and homeschool my child, who would have been, as a boy, they always want to label them that they learn slower. And I just so disagree with that. And then as a brown boy, I cannot have you floundering, son. You need to be able to succeed. And I mean, so even as a 10-year veteran of homeschooling, I was like, okay, can I do it again? I mean, I think I thought the other 2 were like lucky. I got lucky with those 2. I got lucky. Grant's a genius. So did I even really teach him to read? And then with Destiny, with her autism and being told she wouldn't be able to speak, I think I was like, oh, I think that was just like a miracle. Did I really do that? Did this girl, just a girl from Philly, really do that? And can she do it again? So we pulled Nathaniel out in 1st grade, and I've been homeschooling him now. So it was like the end of 1st grade, 2nd, 3rd, and his testing from 4th grade, he has just tested on a 7th grade reading level. So what I want to encourage you and tell you is you can do it. Have confidence in yourself. When those waves of uncertainty hit you, just keep moving forward. Follow your intuition. You don't have to have a degree in education and a specialization as a reading specialist. You don't have to have all that, because he had all that and it wasn't working. Could it have been that children just develop at a different rate? Absolutely. I do think that is a huge problem, that we want all 500 of the 6-year-olds in the class that happen to live in the same zip code to all read and learn and comprehend and mature and grow at the same level at the same time. That is ridiculous, but that is what we expect. And when that doesn't happen, then we put a label on this baby. We put a label on them. So I I'm in disbelief. I'm on cloud nine. I'm so on cloud nine about him being able to achieve this with my help and with my support. And I'm just here to encourage you. You can do it. And when there is a need to pull in additional help, you do that. There are so many resources out there that I used, and don't think you have to do it the way everybody else did it. Because I had that error in my thinking. So my 18-year-old for first and second grade, he was at a private school where their language arts program was like just rigorous. It was a classical approach. So he had Latin. He just came home speaking I'm like, oh, okay. I'm not wasting my money because I love how eloquently this 6-year-old, 7-year-old could speak because he had such a wonderful example at this school. So they used a grammar called Shirley Grammar. So what I remember wanting to implement that, I think it was third grade. I tried to implement Shirley Grammar with Nathaniel, so just a year ago. And it was a wonderful curriculum. It was, I know it was because I saw what it did with my son, and then I still keep in touch with some of his classmates, parents, and just know that, oh yeah, these kids do great in language arts. That foundation was laid for them wonderfully. And I tried to implement that curriculum. And I'm going to tell you, I went into that curriculum not feeling confident that I could do it. So that didn't help. And then it wasn't a good fit for my son. And this son is one that's like a kinesthetic learner. Everything, he had to move around, but I had to learn that. Because of course, initially I was trying to replicate school, like in the private school in my home. And I don't have to do that. I have the freedom to tweak everything to what works best for my children, the flow of our family, and what works best for me so that I can work full time and still give them what they need. So I tried Shirley Grammar, and I would say if you have an opportunity to go on their website, thumb through it, do it. But it didn't work for us. It did not work for us. So I switched to another program that was another classical type of curriculum, methodology, I should say, and it still didn't work. So then it took me 3 tries. It took me 3 tries to find a curriculum that I felt like I could properly present it to him the way the writer or the curriculum designer had in mind, and do it in a joyful manner, because we wanted to be joyful at the homeschool, and that he was able to receive it, retain it, and actually now represent that in his work, in his everyday speech and everyday writing. But I did not expect or have the confidence that I could move him from a struggling reader just a little over a year ago to now a advanced reader while still working, not using something that was that I would be dreading pulling out our reading curriculum or any of our language arts curriculum. When I found that I was dreading the curriculum, I would give it a little more time, and a little more time is like a couple more weeks. And then we moved on to something else. I was like, okay, I'm about to bless somebody else with this curriculum. And I had to, like I said, with the history of me not having a strong language arts background, and just, like I said, coming from a place in the inner city where it wasn't really important, I I had to say, you don't have to give up on this, Nadine. Like, this can be done. I had to be patient with myself, and I want you to be patient. I don't want you to think, like, suppose, like, I have two friends from his private school that he went to that are going to pull their children for upcoming fifth grade year. And I mean, they're doing the same thing I do, that I did. A whole table full of curriculum. Oh, we're going to do this. We're going to learn that. Then we're going to have time for gymnastics. Then we're going to, and that's fine. And we got to that point with my older children. But when I first pulled my struggling reader out, I tried to get him up to speed immediately into this new homeschool, culture. But he needed time to adjust from having been a building structure with 15, 16 children in a class. And I needed time to adjust to now having a formal education with this child, formally educating him along with the other two. So be patient and have the confidence that you can do it. That expect the results to be beyond what you could have ever imagined. And I'm outdone. Yet again, this is my third child that I've homeschooled. And yet again, I still had that intrepidation starting off. And I am like my husband's like, why are you surprised that you were able to accomplish this? And I was like, I still had those nerves and that fear of failing him, like, because you still just hear, how can you homeschool successfully and work full time? So I'm only human, right? I'm only human. So I still went through that having that insecurity of, can I really do it? Can I do it with this child? This is only the third child that I'm teaching. So when I got his results, and then I had on my shirt today, just a girl from Philly, guys, just a girl from Philly. So I am here to assure you, if I can do it, I know you can do it. Okay? Sending blessings to you. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy. Bye. Oh, what do I do? This is pretty cool. Okay. Did I do it wrong? First live. Do I hit share? I don't know. Share in a post. No. Wow, I don't know how to stop it, guys. How do you? Oh, maybe do I close that? Are you sure you want to stop streaming? Yes. Okay.